I'll call the June 12th, 2025 City Commission meeting to order at 4 p.m. Four commissioners present. Commissioner Musil is absent excused. Any additions, corrections to the minutes?
I found none.
Consent agenda. Go through and read it, or you can decide. Julie Zollinger is filling an unexpired term on the Northwest Kansas Community Corrections and Northwest Kansas Juvenile Services. Is that the only one I have?
And the consent and subordination agreement for the microfactory.
Yep. Okay.
I move approval of the consent agenda, items A and B.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Cunningham. Any other comments? One more left down.
We're good.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign. Thank you. Oh, I missed, sorry. Somebody has to have control over me on some days. Some days I'm in total control, other days not so much. Are there any citizen comments? There's a lot of citizens here. Now we can proceed. Item 5, Police Department guaranteed maximum price and design build agreement for Phase 2 services.
Good afternoon, Colin Belzer, Deputy City Manager. So, back in November of last year, the Commission did approve a contract with PwC for Design Build 1 services. That was to include preliminary architectural work in order to establish a guaranteed maximum price, or GMP. The design build team included PwC, BKV, which is one of their specialties is law enforcement centers, and then JGR, which is based out of Salina. It's an architecture firm that actually did design work when Astor Bank was last remodeled. So for the last few months, obviously staff and the design team have been meeting and for preliminary renderings of the exterior. You can kind of see the west side looking east and the north side as you look south of what the exterior would look like. That's the fountain area, so the fountain would go away. And then from a floor plan, I can run through it quickly again, just in case. So the lobby, that would be the old fountain area. The courtroom is right here. You have officer work areas. You have investigations here in the middle, and then admin offices along the edge with conference rooms. And all this is access controlled past basically this point and this point, so the public can only access the courtroom, the restrooms, and the lobby. And we don't have public restrooms right now in our police station, so that'll be a nice addition. And then on the basement, that's the fountain area. Obviously, it's going to stay. We're not doing anything there, but on this side will be a training room and storage, and then a break room, and then those are our existing bathrooms, and then this will be the evidence storage area on the other side. So the existing stationary facilities, we have about 8,000, little over 8,000 square feet. That includes 1,500 square feet that we rent of storage units. This new project will have over 20,000 square feet in the Astor building, and then 2,600 square feet of storage buildings. We're converting that teller building outside into a small garage, and then we're also constructing about a 2,000 square foot facility out by the new fire station. That was actually part of the fire station project on 41st Street. It was meant for PD, but we chose not to do it at that time. And so we are going to do it now. And so
How big is that, the little
like about
unit?
500 square feet.
And you're going to use it for storage?
I think the main purpose is for vehicles to move in, be able to work on vehicles, install radios, work on things like that.
And there's room for that in that building. When I picture it in my brain, it's this little square building.
Well, they're
500
gonna
square
rip out-
feet,
they're
there's
gonna rip
room.
out the middle, you know, the lane, there won't be 2 lanes and everything, so yeah. PwC has presented GMP of just under $6 million. That includes the Astor Bank renovation, the construction of the offsite storage facilities. The bank purchase itself was $1.8 million, so you're just about $7.8 million. We did budget $8 million for construction, and then city staff will be responsible for the acquisition of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, or FF&E. It's what we did with the fire station. So we will come back to you about a year from now and give you an update on that and ask for a price not to exceed for FF&E. And then general obligation bonds will be issued, and the total bond amount will include resources to pay for everything. So your options are to approve the GMP and execute the contract, do not approve it, or provide other options or other direction. And the action requested is on the screen.
I move to accept the guaranteed maximum price of $5,991,250 and authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with PwC Inc. to perform Phase 2 design-build services for the new police station / municipal court facility to be paid from general obligation bonds to be issued in an amount not to exceed $8 million to pay for acquisition of 1100 4th Street, construction costs, and FF&E needs.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Barrick. Questions, comments?
I just wanted to clarify, you said the current storage is space that we're renting,
We rent space.
so we will eliminate
Correct.
that cost. Okay, thank you.
And you said this provides for an additional, 50 years of growth? Is that about right?
No,
25.
20. So,
Okay.
but
20 years.
what's something we talked about is does have options for still growth in terms of, so one, we looked at either enclosing the fountain or there's to the south, there's a courtyard, like it's an
Yep.
underground courtyard, and you could do 2 stories there, and that's about, I think, an extra 2,000 square feet, so you could add on another 2,000. You could probably get to 50 years there.
In a building that's no longer shared with anybody, just
Correct.
us.
Anything else,
No,
Commissioner
I'm
Reuter? I'm sorry. That room for growth was really important, and I remember talking about that area on the south side. That's really a great option if we ever need it in the future, and having that there. When I look at all this, what I see is saving $4.5 million versus when we first started talking about police departments, so it's a really big deal. Anything missing, Chief?
No, I don't think so. We got started this project. The commission was clear. They wanted to do it right, and I think we're doing it right. They want to do it for future growth, and you want to keep it on the budget. And he's going to keep his own budget, but the design team, PwC, has really developed a good design team. The BKV group with Paul and Bess, they're just super to work with, and I'm very happy where we're at. Really like the opportunity to come back when we get the final things in place to come back and go through it with you, because I think you'll be very, very happy.
Love to.
There is room for growth in the building as in. Without adding on, there is room for growth in here. So I think for a long-term plan, this is a really good project for us.
Very good. Thank you so much. Without further questions, comments, call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes by 4-0. Thank you. Item 6, we're going to be so excited to hear about. Property liability coverage renewal. Mr. Rupp,
I would say save the best for last, but I'm not last today.
you're not last today.
Yeah. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance, here to talk to you about property liability coverage renewal for 2025, 2026. Last week, we had a few people on call with us, and in chambers, Jason McMahon, our Risk Management Director with NPR, as well as Kirsten Smith, the Senior Underwriter with NPR, and then Taylor Still with Insurance Planning, our broker. And so I'll try to interject some of their comments into this as we go from last week. First thing I wanted to review with you was the insured values. Kind of eye-opening this year. Try to explain some of that. Buildings were up 12.6 million. Contents were up 12.1 million. We did have a reappraisal this year. The last one was in 2018. Construction costs in the 2020 to 2022 timeframe saw significant increases, so those normal value increases that they were doing for us just weren't enough. This reappraisal, I believe, has corrected that. Also, the new NPR used a new appraisal company, and they clarified contents. So there was a reallocation, and that's kind of why you see the huge increase in contents. Big thing was like the water treatment facility, their equipment is now considered contents instead of part of the building. And honestly, I think separating that out gives us better coverage that way. Another item clarified, never really thought of it this way, but things below ground as opposed to underground. We now have listed the swimming pool and the wastewater treatment basin as below ground. They're not excluded as underground items like pipes, valves, et cetera, would be. So that got clarified. Jason mentioned last week that in lieu of a percent deductible, our coverage is a margin clause coverage. He felt at renewal we'd have 125% declaration value protection there. So that makes this reappraisal even more important in that regard. And then moving forward, vehicles were up 1.9 million. That includes 5 new PD vehicles. Those things are topping out at 60,000 after upfitting now. A couple of dump trucks, several pickups, a new fire pumper truck. That alone was 488,000. Equipment's up 200,000. We had some Kubota tractors, a tilt trailer, a backhoe, a mast lift, and a baler that were added. Other property was up 545,000. We had a wastewater generator. We added scoreboards at Bickelschmidt and the new airport refueling facility. So those are some of the reasons, some of the things why those insured values increased. Moving on to the contributions summary. A pool calls them contributions. Insurance calls them premiums. It's all about the language. But so as you see, our total increase is 136,723. That is a 30% increase. Of that, buildings increased 36,000, contents 27,000, vehicles 70,600. And then equipment, other property, and liability were minimal increases there. Kirsten mentioned last week we had one of the lowest rates structures in the pool, honestly. The rate now, that 26 cents per 100 you see there, that rate is now the pool average. One of the things that led that was our loss ratio. We had in excess of $3 million in losses, wind hail damage in the 2021 and 2024 storms. That's a 244% loss ratio. Industry average break even is 50%, considered 50%. So Taylor mentioned last week that the industry rate average is 32 to 36 cents per 100. So our 26 looks pretty decent then when you consider that. Kirsten talked about deductible discounts that we received. We received an 8.6 discount on property. That deductible, if you saw, moved from 25,000 to 50,000 on property. Auto physical damage, that deductible is 1,000, and that we received a 5% discount there. 4.7% discount on the auto liability, and that's a $1,000 deductible. 6% law enforcement liability discount, that deductible is 5%. And then 10.6% on public officials. So evidently you guys are a lot less of a risk. That deductible is 10,000. So talked a little bit about this graph last week when we looked at other cities, and I cautioned you take this with a grain of salt. This mainly is just to tell you what other cities are spending on coverage. Don't compare us too much to them because there's different exposures, different deductibles, different locations. Might be per occurrence deductible, per building deductible. So you see that like Emporia at the top, they have a 3% deductible with a $150,000 minimum. Newton's property, crime, and equipment is with a company called Chubb, while their auto and liability is with Travelers. They indicated in their research, they found that Olathe, Gardner, Hutch, and Salina have done similar things. As we indicated in the memo, we do intend to have insurance plan go out to the market fully next year, pricing the 26-27 renewal. We have in the past shied away from those combos where they use Chubb and Travelers, but we'll be open to that. We're also going to be taking a hard look at maybe a self-insurance or a hybrid of that type thing. So Taylor's going to be doing a lot of work on that. So no pun intended, but basically I consider this increase threefold. It's that 244% loss ratio. it's the rate adjustments, it's the total insured value adjustments that we saw at the beginning there. Taylor talked last week about how difficult it would be to sell us in the market with that 244%. So hopefully that'll ease as we go through the years, and hopefully we don't have as huge losses. And then he said even if we found a product, we would experience larger deductibles and or percentage deductibles. So some of the reasons why we are recommending continuing with NPR. Before we get to options, though, and one thing I failed to do last week was talk a little more about NPR. First of all, to let you know, still on the board with I'm still on the board with NPR, but next week I'm going to a strategic planning session and a board meeting, and that will be it. I will be done with NPR. I term out, so I'll be off the board then. But some other things that NPR provides for us, they have complimentary legal services. They have the Lexapol product that Chief uses with the police department. Chief also has used their Milo system. It's an advanced training system designed to enhance use of force, decision-making, and tactical judgment. I think maybe some of you have experienced that going in and shot the bad guy on that. So
Didn't do very well.
They provide on-site risk management services. So we've had Jason here. Jason was here through the reappraisal process, but he's also been here and toured parks and things like that to look for any risk mitigation possibilities. And then they have quite a bit of online training available. So we're happy with NPR, and that's one of the reasons we also want to continue with NPR. So options would be to renew that package or provide us with other guidance. This would be our action requested today.
I move to authorize the city manager to renew the 2025-2026 property liability coverages package in the amount of $590,944 to be funded from the intragovernmental insurance and surety line items. Sorry, that played with my brain for a second. Wanted to say survey.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Cunningham and seconded by Commissioner Barrick. Questions?
So, obviously, you're always going to get hit when you have 244% loss. How many years do you ever recover from that as far as premiums going down? Or are you always going to be in the higher risk because we're in a hail wind area anyway? Or if we have 5 years of lower issues, damage, that the premiums would tailor back down again?
If we don't have as severe of claims, those right around the 3-year, those will start falling off.
3 years.
So but the storms are the wild card. I mentioned last week, a large portion of those repairs that were done were roofs, public works, wastewater, water. And I know for a fact that Public Works went back with a better product, a thicker membrane, in the hopes that if we do have another event, we don't have as much damage or an issue there. We will also, as department heads, we talked about this afternoon, review each of those claims and see what's really absolutely necessary. If it's physical damage and it causes a safety concern, obviously it'd be repaired. But if it's something that we can live with, a roof that just has dents in it and there's no other issues with it, do we really repair it? And so if we're still in this type of product and part of our contribution is based on the amount of claims we have, then we want to review that. So it's a bit of a wild card.
Mr. Cunningham, did you start to ask a question?
No.
And you said these are per occurrence claims?
Correct.
And it was, did you say it was a 5-year rolling average? So hopefully next year with 2021 falling
About
off?
3, actually.
Okay.
So that 2021 should roll off.
That'll be nice. Eliminate 1.5 million of that.
One thing, Kim, that I'm extremely happy that you're looking into for next year, and I've had experience with it over my career, and that's self-insurance. I think that it's time we look at that, and I think we may see some real opportunity in that. You know, self-insurance, self-pay, you often get to that number where you have to look at things that way. And so I'm anxious to see that. I'm anxious to see him go back to market. But again, it's no different than us with our car. We have any kind of damages, you go to another company, they're going to see that same reports out there that anybody else does. So I'm not expecting market to show us much difference. I am expecting to see some big things from self-insurance and a hybrid, if you will, not total self-insurance.
Yeah, some of the ideas there is to self-insure up to 250,000 or $500,000, and then have a stopgap in place that takes over.
There comes a point to when you pay it yourself, keeping it from going to the claim is actually cheaper than paying it yourself. I mean, it's just get out there and pay it and get it over with and not report it, and it works better.
Probably the bright spot of all of this is the fact that, if you can think of it this way, is the fact that the over 3 million in claims was weather related.
Right.
It wasn't staff or
Right.
police or any one of us doing something wrong that caused a loss to the city. It was weather, and that's totally out of
Maybe you're
everybody's
not praying
control.
hard enough.
So.
We're all not praying hard enough. I think it's a great program that we've had. I appreciate NPR. I think they've done a great job. I think it's a great way to work, and I'm glad you've served on that board. Anything else? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And you do make insurance as interesting as it can be. Cemetery ordinance revisions. Mr. Boyle.
Good evening, Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. I am here to talk about cemetery ordinances. Main reason I'm here is I think it's time that we definitely do some fee increases. The other part of the request tonight is to clean up some of the language that's in the current ordinance. Some of the language is very old and not necessary. So kind of a little background information. City owns 2 cemeteries, Fort Hays Memorial Gardens and Mount Ellen Cemetery. And we have not implemented any fee increases in over 20 years. Something we talked about looking at more often. So we'll definitely do that from here on out. So kind of break down the however many pages that was of the ordinance changes. I'm trying to break it down into some small bullet points. As I mentioned, we are looking to increase the fees. We are looking to provide some clarification and consistency throughout the ordinance. Help convey some legal needs that we've had to deal with here recently. Make the language a little more clear so that the city, it's well understood what the requirements are of the city on some of those needs. Removal of outdated language related to grazing horses and livestock in our cemetery. Again, just old language that 100 years ago might have been an issue, but is no longer an issue. Amendment requiring the cemetery certificates to be signed by the mayor. That was actually a state statute. It's a requirement that we have to do. Sorry, Sandy. But I tried to get you out of it, but it didn't work. Amendment requiring 16-hour notice for interments and 10 days for disinterments. That's, we feel, is very reasonable. Amendments not allowing interments on Sundays or city-recognized holidays. Amendment for headstone requirements at Memorial Garden Cemetery. We really didn't have any description of what is required at Memorial Garden, so we wanted to add some language in there to clarify what is allowed and not allowed. And then amendment to the interment permit requiring a description of the interment type. So not only do we need to know if it's a full burial or cremation, we also need to know the size of the cremation if for the urn for 2 reasons. Number one, we have a columbarium that cremations can go in. They have a limitation on size. We need to know that going in so we can catch the process early on, if needed, to let the folks know that the size is only allowed is only this. And then secondly, for staff, when they go up to actually dig the cremation barrel, we need to make sure that we have the hole dug proper size so the urn fits and there's not an unusual situation at the time of the placement. So those that kind of breaks it down for the most part on what we're asking. Specifically on the fees, The area in blue that you see is where we're currently at. The items in yellow is where we'd like to bump those fees to, about mid-pack. So this would be the grave space fees for a full space and an infant space. Disinterment fees, we talked a little bit about this last time. We're asking for a significant increase in this. This can be an issue for us. It'll cost us far more than where we're at right now to actually perform the disinterment. We feel that if we're going to do a disinterment, it'll at least break even. And that's about, the prices you see here are about breaking even. So we don't have a lot of disinterments, but it is something that when it does happen, we'd like to have that in place. Grave opening fees, again, kind of mid-pack on this. Columbarium grave opening fees, again, around mid-pack.
Question.
Yes,
What
sir.
is it for a columbarium? I mean, what kind of work is involved to pull an urn out?
Well, theoretically, not a lot. But what we run into is that the anchor bolts don't always work out like they were manufactured to work out. So in other words, they don't line up with the plates correctly. We end up going in there and tapping in new holes, new threads for these things. We've ran into it several times. It's something that, and sometimes the plates are so tight, but I mean, you have to be really careful getting them off or you chip them. So what should be really simple turns into most of the time a nightmare for us, and it's very time consuming. We end up with 2 people up there to do it because one's got to hold the plate to make sure it doesn't fall out, while the other one is working it over, trying to get it out. That's really why we're asking for that. It does take some time. It's not just something you can walk up with a screwdriver, pull them out, and it falls into your arms, and off you go. Monument setting fees. Did I answer your question, Reese?
Yep.
Okay. Monument setting fees, again, about mid-pack here on price. The reason why we're asking for $40 for both is because we do the same procedure for a single as we do a double. We have to identify the markers on the entire plot, string line them in 2 different directions, and get everything lined up. So regardless whether it's a single or double, that's the same process involved, same amount of time, staff time. So that's why we're asking for that.
You're not actually setting those, you're just setting
We're
the
just marking them
parameters.
out. Yeah, we're setting the parameters where they actually need to be set, and that way the funeral director or whoever can get them set in the proper location.
I have another question. I always get lost between portions of the cemetery. The city cemetery, do we allow urns to be buried on top of an existing grave?
Yes, one.
Just
one
one.
urn.
And so do you charge additional for that?
Yes, for the cremation on top of an existing burial, there is a fee for us to go dig the hole and put the urn in, yes.
And that fee falls where in all this?
That would fall under grave opening fees. So cremation would be $250.
To open that grave to set that urn in?
Yes.
The Catholic cemetery? I'm trying to define where the city cemetery is, where St. Joseph's Cemetery is.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Because you can actually do your own if you're going to set an urn on a grave at St. Joseph's Cemetery, you can actually do your own.
oh, is that right? Was not aware of that.
So, but we're charging $450 to open it up to set that urn in.
Yes.
Okay. Versus if they had a gravesite next to it to put that urn in, no matter where that opening is, it's going to cost $450.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
So just in general, for a general burial, it's going to cost a family $1,040 for a full space. You got to have the opening, plus the space fees, plus the monument setting.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
that's correct. I don't have a problem with this sort of getting into the middle or slightly cheaper end of middle. But the one that looks like a really we we're talking about doubling the space fee for a full space, but we're quintupling the space fee for an infant. And whereas it seems like a lot of the other cities were basically in the $100 range for the
For the
infants.
infant?
So why are we quintupling instead of doubling? Like we doubled the full space fee. We're not
Well,
doubling
when we
that.
look at the infants, you're talking about the actual purchase of the infant space?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we're so far, I mean, we're bottom of the barrel on our current prices. There's a lot involved. We have minimal spaces for one thing. We're limited on how many we actually have at Mount Allen Cemetery remaining. But regardless of that, those are half the size of a full burial. They're fairly good sized. So,
That's why I was wondering where you were getting that number from, as opposed to doubling one and quintupling the other. It's basically you're saying it's half the size, so you're cutting the cost in half.
we were trying to stay right in the middle is what we're trying to do across the board here. But there's so many of those cities that, like in this particular case, that I after looking at some of the stuff they've got, their ordinances, I don't believe have been looked at in 20 years either. So
Well, that was going to be my question. Do you think a lot of these other cities have made changes in their costs over the last 10 years or 20 years, or do you think that everybody else is in the same situation,
I
of
think
having
they're
not
the
looked
same
at them?
situation. From what I've seen, there are a lot of these. I think some of the ones at the bottom that are higher priced, those have had recent updates, but all the ones above us appear to have been stagnant, just like we have for 15, 20, 30 years.
That's what I was wondering.
And it's too bad that happens because it does kind of slap you in the face when you have to
I
put
agree,
it up there.
100%.
And I know I shared my disappointment last week, and I share that with all departments. I think we need to be looking at every area like this, that we don't have to have big increases. And I know that we do the very best we can, but we'll keep trying harder and try to look at it more often so it isn't this kind of an increase.
We're going to update our price sheets every other year, just kind of like we're doing for the pool and golf course.
Good.
Whether that means we have to bring a recommended increase to you or not is one thing, but at least that way we're keeping up with
You're looking at it.
where we're at. Yeah,
That's appreciated.
If we
Jeff.
start falling backwards, we're going to have to probably come to you and visit about it some more.
Yeah, because that big struggle is this middle of the pack doesn't get us to break even. It just
Right.
puts a dent in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I agree 100%. I think I said that last week too, that I thought the prices seemed a little high for something like that. But again, that's a good point. If they're in the same boat we are, where they haven't done it, they're probably in the same boat cost-wise of what it takes to actually do the work for this. Not a fun topic, that's for sure.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff, I'm sorry.
Financial consideration, we've been talking about, the cemeteries are well below the average, and we feel like implementing the recommended fee increases will at least put us more in line with the other communities. We're not going to make money on the cemetery. We're still going to have a deficit, but at least we're trying to make up for some of that. These are your options. Approve the fees and the language changes, do nothing, or provide further guidance. And this is our action requested.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4073, approving the proposed amendments to certain sections of Articles 1, 2, and 3 in Chapter 17 of the City Code of Ordinances governing city cemeteries as presented.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barrick, seconded by Commissioner Cunningham. We've had a lot of discussion. Any other questions?
I know we've already said it, but I just want to state again, and I think I said it last week, just to review this more often,
Yes.
because I think it does feel hard probably for some people to swallow the giant increase. So,
I agree with you.
yeah, thank
In,
you.
in what is already a delicate situation.
Yes.
Well, and you know, on the one hand, hopefully most people haven't had to deal with multiple things in the last 2 years, so that they see a huge, massive increase, because they've had to deal with it last year and this year, the next year.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think it's just something that we need to keep up on.
Yeah, and I do appreciate you going back through and, finding these things that need to be updated and corrected to make sure that we're not constantly running a huge deficit. But yeah, I think it's a really good idea to continue that
Right.
review biannually.
100% agree.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Pose
Aye.
same sign. Passes 4-0. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
Jeff.
much.
Next item on the agenda is the Welcome Center marquee sign replacement. And Melissa is so excited.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Dixon, Director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We talked about this last week, but just to refresh you, the 25-foot marquee sign was installed on Vine Street in 2007, the same year that the Welcome Center was built. There's an LED board in there that's supposed to last about 8 to 10 years, and I think we got to 16 before it would no longer update. So there's no more support on that messaging software. This video board was used to display rotating messages on upcoming events and to welcome special groups to town. According to KDOT, this intersection sees about 18,000 cars a day, so it is useful. In addition, the static panel lettering, the flat panels here, you can see them here, they're really weathered and cracked. And so this would take care of the video board and the flat panels. So we opened bids on May 13th. We had 2 bids, commercial sign out of Hayes and Lumineo signs out of Hutch. And what I love about this electronic piece of equipment, it's actually made in Danville, Indiana. So you can look up pictures of Watchfire, their factory, putting together each pixel in these signs. So I'm resting easy that if we need service, it's going to be easy to get. Financial consideration. The CVB's 2025 budget includes $45,000 for sign replacement to be funded out of CVB reserves. And your options today: accept the low bid from Commercial Sign for a double-sided 10mm LED message center and static sign panels at a cost of $44,773. Direct staff to another option or do nothing. And this is the action requested.
I move to authorize the purchase of a double-sided 10mm LED message center and static sign panels at a cost of $44,773 and fund the project from CVB reserves.
Second. You got it.
Moved by Commissioner Bruder, second by Commissioner Cunningham. Discussion?
I think it's important. A lot of people drive by and see it, and when it's blank, it doesn't do anybody any good. So it's one of the most visible things in coming into the city.
And Melissa, I think you answered this last week. Is it the same size, the sign, the digital part of it?
Yes, when
Okay.
this says 10mm, that's talking about resolution.
Okay,
So it will be the same size.
same size. Okay, thank you.
I appreciate you were able to get 16 years out of an 8-year sign.
Got our money's
Push it to
worth.
the absolute
Yes.
death
we
limit.
did.
I talk a lot about how we project our community, how we tell our story in our community, and that's a perfect spot to tell our story. And we're telling it 18,000 times a day. I think having it usable is one thing, having it look nice is the second thing. Both things have to happen. So I really appreciate you looking into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's our first impression for a lot of people.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 4-0. Thank you, Melissa. Toby, you have a comment before we start commission comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to update the city commission. I was at the Ellis County Commission meeting on Tuesday, and the commissioners changed the fee structure for the Ellis County landfill with regard to whether or not a load was secured or not. I think you've all noticed that we have an issue at times with trash, limbs, other things, other type of debris falling off of and out of vehicles and trailers as they are headed to the landfill. So unfortunately, North Paul 41st kind of catches the brunt of the trash. Obviously, it's against the law, it's littering, but it's extremely difficult to catch somebody in the act of littering. So anyway, the county commission discussed this, I believe, at their planning retreat earlier in the year. And what they did is they instituted a new fee structure that will take place next year. It'll take place technically, I believe, January 1, but they're going to issue warnings for the first couple months before they fully implement it, trying to get people used to it. And what it'll be is it'll add an additional 50% onto the regular fee if a load is deemed unsecured. So people have the option of paying just the regular fee. If they want to haul something out that's unsecured, they have to pay an additional fee, hoping to disincent the behavior by charging an extra fee. So this will affect our residents. Our residents do haul things to the landfill. James is going to help, I know James is here somewhere, there he is. James is going to help with the PR on this, to make sure that we're getting the message out. So this will affect our residents that haul just regular municipal waste, construction waste, things like that out. It also affects our residents that haul limbs out there, tree limbs. So we have an agreement with Ellis County where our residents can dispose of limbs for free. We used to dispose of limbs down at solid waste Public Works by the compost facility. And then we used to have an inmate crew from the Stockton Correctional Facility come in and they would chip them for us and we've used it as mulch. But, it caught fire one time and then the Stockton facility crew went away and so we figured out a better way to do it. But we pay the landfill a fee every year to allow our residents to drop for free. So right now, if you want to haul limbs out, you just bypass the scale, you go drop it, and there's no charge. So what the county struggled with was, given the fact that limbs are a lot of the debris that we deal with, how do we charge something that's free and how do we change that behavior? So what they agreed to do is they're going to make everybody go across the scale now. So even if you're a Hayes resident hauling, you will have to go across the scale. If the load is deemed secured, you go dump and you leave, there's no fee. If it's not secured, you would pay the fee plus 50% of what it would normally cost to drop limbs if you're a non-Ellis County resident. So again, if you're an Ellis County resident and want to drop limbs for free, follow the rules they've put in place and you'll be fine.
It's going to be interesting.
Did they define what secure means?
That's just where I was going.
They do have a definition of secure. They have cameras. They're setting up a camera system. So if the landfill operator decides to charge somebody, there'll be video documentation of the load, whether it's secured or not. But yes, they did come up with the definition of secured. But as we know, that's going to be subjective to some people.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Certainly will be. I'll keep my husband out of it. He's a haul.
So again, I'm telling you this because it's fresh in my memory because the meeting was this week. It will not go into effect until January 1, and they're going to have a grace period to try to train people on the behavior before they start issuing the actual fees.
So if it gets, I don't want to beat this to death, but if it gets there and pulls up and it's deemed insecure, why wouldn't half of it be gone? Or do we assume there was?
It's about potential. If it's unsecured, it's the potential to fall out. Some of it could have fallen out. So there's a lot of unsecured loads that can make it to the landfill without losing things, but there's always the potential for something to come out.
There's just a question of whether people have to buy things like toppers for their pickups or different sorts of things, if that's the definition of secure versus somebody puts a rope across the top just to try to hold limbs in.
No, and that was part of the discussion in the meeting. Straps and ropes and tarps and things like that are a means of securing the load. And I've hauled limbs to the landfill on my trailer and then in my pickup when I had a pickup and just used simple bungee straps and tarps to hold them on there. Was able to, not lose any going out.
I think we always use a tarp for the most part. Okay, Commissioner Barrick, any comments?
I think summer actually hit. So we see the picture up here. It was nice. I know that they gave out all of their coupons for free food for the baseball game, for the Larks game. So that was very cool. And I just wanted to mention that I had the chance to go out with Jeff, and we toured all of the parks. And it's just a good thing to go out to each of the departments, every once in a while, but to see, as we went to all the parks, it was amazing. You saw all of the Hayes Parks Department pickups, and all the people were out at all of the parks doing work. And, it's on the one hand, it's amazing to see how great our parks and our facilities are. It's also, a great chance to see what's coming up. What are some of the costs going to be for the things that are going to have to be worked on to be replaced or repaired, and that can be a little bit sobering. And obviously, the big ones are going to be Bickle Schmidt, Larks Park, Ark Park, a swimming pool. And, you know, they're pretty amazing, but there's things that are coming up that if we want to keep our quality of life and the parks up, there's going to be some things coming up, as we all know. But it was really worthwhile to see, you know, exactly how our parks are looking right now, and the functionality and how many people, you know, it's amazing to go out and just walk through the Ark Park on a middle of a weekday and see how many people are there using the parks. So I just wanted to say it was an awesome thing to be able to do, and thank Jeff for taking me out and getting a chance to really look and see how important they are for our quality of life. And I think it was really, I just appreciated that and want to thank Jeff and all of the people in the Parks Department for all the work that they're doing.
I think that's a great comment, and I'll just add to it before we move on that the word sobering, it really is fitting for this, because as we look at everything in our parks and the replacements that are coming in the future, it's every time we have somebody give to the city, they get upset when we have to think about what the future is. Well, it's wonderful to get the gift, whether it's the pavilion or Kiwanis but at some point, we're going to have to deal with that down the road. So always looking at what I call the fiscal note. What are we going to have to do to take care of it? What are we going to do to replace it and so forth? I think that's something we've all done pretty well over the last numbers of years, and it may not slap us as hard as it might have before because we are thinking about it. Great comments. Thank you. Commissioner Cunningham?
I would agree. Summer is here. It's hot this week, so drink your water. Want to say a future welcome to all the baseball teams that will be in town this week. That'll be really big and good for the community. And then I guess all of us up here had the privilege, but we got to see the progress on the new high school being built, and it's amazing. I mean, I know we can all see from the outside what's going on, but to actually get inside and see the progress, it's going to be really amazing, not only for our students that attend there, but for our community as a whole. So I'm really proud that we are making that happen. That's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner Reuter?
Don't have a whole lot more to add. Enjoy the weekend and happy early Father's Day to everybody.
True. The high school, I was going to comment as well. I hadn't been in it since October, and I know I didn't say 10 words because I was just amazed everywhere we went. We are going to be so proud of this. I always make the comment that I follow grandchildren around with athletics and get to see so many big athletic campuses, and how disappointing that has to be for our young people. Well, they'll never be disappointed again. They'll be showing it off and showing it off happily. So we're excited about that. I have one other thing I wanted to just kind of poll the commissioners. Next week is a work session, and we have the ordinance to allow backyard chickens on the agenda for discussion. We have lots of people coming and going, and it's vacation time, as you all deserve that time away as well. So I wanted to see if you wanted to go ahead and have, I'm just looking for consensus, go ahead and have the discussion next week and then not vote on it until July, or we could actually wait until the first work or second work session in July, which would be July 17th, and then vote on it July 24th. And my poll of people being here is pretty well covered that everybody would be here during those times. I know the commissioners all have comments and would like to be involved in the discussion and the vote as well. So does anybody have a problem with either of those things, or do you have an alternative suggestion, which is welcome?
I think it'd be good to make sure all of us are here.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good with that too. I think it's important that we're all here. I know it pushes it out for the citizens to find an answer, but I think it's a good idea.
You okay with it, Reese?
Works for me.
Okay. Can you-
17th and 24th?
17th and 24th of July.
We can do that.
Okay. Executive session? We're adjourned.